Welcome to the Mcdowell Mountain Criterium Category 4 and 5 race. This course has two tight corners, a descent section and a climb section. The downhill section being first and the climb on the back side. This is my first race of the season and I have been practicing riding the pack as much as possible. So I was practicing the long sprint for this type of race and doing technical corners around an empty parking lot. As you can see, I'm starting in the back of the race, and this tactic's a little bit risky because the hill will cause less strong riders to start popping off the back. There's like surges that you have to get around those people. It takes quite a bit of energy, and there's also the corners, which causes this sort of rubber band or yo-yo effect. But the reason I'm sitting in the back is to avoid crashes, and it kind of just helps me size up the field and get a feel of how the race is going to go. Lets me size up who's going to be able to attack, who isn't. There's quite a few teams in this race too. Criterium racing is really not my specialty because I'm an endurance long distance specialist. I can just grab my power profile as like a flat line. I have an FTP of 4.5 watts per kilo, but my max sprint is I can barely crack 1,000 watts for maximum effort. So if I have a chance on even getting podium or even top 10, I'm going to have to push it on the climb side. So another problem with this for me in this course is 500 meters after that last corner is a downhill sprint. So it's going to be taking a mad lad wild attack on that last climb side to break away and enough speed to get narrow and low to make it to the finish. And yep, you can already see some people are not taking this following close enough. It's like they're not comfortable riding as close as possible, so they're going to have to waste a lot of energy. As soon as they're getting really far off, I'm going to have to plan on getting around them and filling that gap that they're leaving open. But this is something I've been practicing on our group rides, especially our big group rides. I've been practicing moving from the very back of the pack to the front of the pack on harder sections. So it's something I've been structuring my training to prepare myself for. Right here we start laying down the watts. We're going pretty hard up this climb here. It's like we're not even halfway through the climb. We're pretty down some power. But as soon as it flattens out, you can tell that the whole group stops pedaling right here. And it's going to be some good amount of time to recover. Once it gets a little bit flat, and then we start going hard again. The equipment I'm riding on is a Bianchi Ultra Reparto Corse. It's an aero road bike. It has 28mm tubeless tires, which handle very nicely, and it does have disc brakes too, which I quite like. It's quite a fast bike too. So this downhill section for me is all about trying to follow as close as I possibly can and save as much energy as I can instead of having to waste a ton of effort. And also making sure I don't crash or no one else crashes in front of me. So there's a little pile of sand here on the left that's like a little bit sketchy, and especially if you're up near that front of the group when you're riding multiple people abreast, but back here it's pretty fine since you got lots of road to work with. But I'm starting to get a little bit irritated with that, how these guys are not following close at all. They're leaving huge gaps. is. Yeah, I was kind of wondering what it would look like if I did this kind of power off of the front instead of being in the back. I'd be pulling away a little bit, because that's quite a bit to surge. It's like after that corner, every single time I have to blow matches to get back on and then go around these guys. It's just wasting all that energy. I talked to the guy in the yellow jersey before the race. He said he's pretty new to crit racing. He's also a climbing specialist, so hopefully he's got enough power to wait to get back up and just raw speed. I think he does, and that's why I sat on. It's definitely hurting me very bad to go above 300 watts to catch back on for just sitting in the pack. Yeah, so even this group I'm catching back onto is getting dropped by that front group a little bit after the corner. So I'm thinking I need to get around these guys too, because they aren't making the corners fast enough. And I have to dig big here. So 500 watts for me is quite a bit. And I'm digging deep right here. This is definitely in my upper end, my power. Yeah, this was probably the absolute hardest part of the race right here for me. It's like, okay, I can get back on. I know I can if I get low. Sorry, you're going to see a lot of ground because I have a helmet cam and I'm just trying to keep as tucked in an arrow as much speed as I can possibly get out of this power that I have left to catch on. That was definitely a close call right now. Even this guy here is making me a little bit nervous how he's not following close. So I'm just going to try and sit in with his arrow in the draft as possible, because that really, really hurt. Yeah, there's a nice roaring crowd out there that really helped me feel getting pretty good about getting back on, but I'm gonna have to do another little effort because I'm not close enough through that corner. So there's a bit of a pattern to this race. As you can see, there's like a big surge that happens right after that corner because they're trying to spread out on the first bit of the climb. It's probably one of the steeper parts. But if you just hang in there long enough and don't go too hard at the start of it, you can pretty much slide right back on at a more even pace. Yeah, even pace doing over 400 watts for me. Real even. But yeah, see right there? They just slowed down when it got a little bit flatter. So in this race I do have a mark. You're about to be able to see him. He's in the orange. He's like another climber. He's a lean ASU guy on the road race results. He's considered my nemesis on that website, so he's my mark for this race. He's who I'm trying to beat. He's also not much of a sprinter. He's kind of a climb guy too. Probably going to tell this guy here to get closer because he is letting a lot of gap open up here. He seems fine, but he's just letting a huge gap open. Maybe he's just here to build some fitness or something with some off the back interval. And I absolutely burned another match just to pass and get back on because that guy was not following at all close enough for my liking. I'm trying to strategize and think about how I want to do this. So the wind on this course is coming a diagonal left to right, so it's a little bit of crosswind. So it's going from my left down to my right on this side. So I'm thinking if I go to the far right to make my passes on the inside of this, I'll be sheltered from the wind and I'll also be taking less distance to get around. But it's going to be tricky because then you have that tight corner. So that's my plan for this. See, they go very far to the left right here, but when that happens, it's going to give me a huge opening later on to just move up in that group. And then, yeah, there's that guy in the 200 in the camo jersey. I just kind of probably tell him to follow closer earlier. He's a big guy, so his draft's pretty good. He just needs to follow close. this up, but one of my goals for the race is get 20 pack finishes, so that's one of my goals, but I also like to get some upgrade points, so I want to get in the 11th position or better, so that's what I'm aiming for in this race, even though crit racing is not really my thing. I think I can definitely get in the top 15 on this race, or a pack finish for sure. Yeah, I end up taking this corner really tight, and I end up kind of liking taking it tight but slow since it's a shorter distance. Like, I am just about on a very tight inside line of that. What in this whiff do I do right here? I am practically sprinting for absolutely no reason on this part, and it really hurts. My heart rate doesn't get up too high though, since it doesn't last that long, so I'm glad it didn't. I'm going to have to really sit in tight and get as much draft as I can here. Yeah, it looks like some people are making their moves to get around. This is usually what happens in this race, is there's some moves coming on around the middle. Coming around, making the moves on the flanks. I was looking around deciding whether I was going to go with them or not. And for this time I decided it was a little too early, so I was just going to wait and see if I could get maybe a few more laps in before I start making my own moves. We're about 5 laps to go, and now is when I start thinking I'm going to start making my moves, just after that lap. Yeah, I make a little mistake right here. I get nervous from this guy in the scorpion jersey with the checkered flags, when I should have been following that junior here in that yellow, and I ended up just falling back behind him because I was nervous about which lines he was taking. right when I see around this bend, I start getting a little nervous because I can see there's a big gap opening up between the groups here. So I know right here, this is going to be the hardest part of my race right now because I can see a bunch of people are getting blown off the back right now. So here I go.
Get around them.
approaching the end of the race here. Some people are getting popped off the back again as usual. And now I'm thinking this is my chance to move up to the front of the pack here. And I'm really going to need to dig to do it, but I know I can do it to get up there. Because they usually just like pause and they go easy here. Right about here. They don't go too hard. They like almost stop pedaling. So we're getting up to the last final lap here, and this is where I'm going to make my big move. I still got a little bit of a match in. I have a lot of matches, but my matches aren't big. So I'm going to play it smart the whole race and move up. So here I go. Now I'm getting closer to the front. We're making the moves just where I wanted to go. There's some guys we're pulling around. We're making some good progress here. Trying to get a little bit closer to the ASU guy, but this is my mark for this race. Yeah, so the guy in blue is a pretty big guy and he made me really nervous right there, but I think the right move would have been just to follow on his wheel. I was just a little nervous with how he was riding when he came through there. But I'm going to come through this turn with a good amount of speed. And here I have to dig deep and sprint, quote unquote sprint with whatever I have left. And it's not too bad. I'm getting some big numbers, but nothing crazy. In case you were wondering, I ended up 12th place in this race. I didn't have enough to get around this junior rider here, but I beat the ASU guy who I wanted to beat.